Okay. They got water here too. Man, they're prepared.
Derek brought that for you.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
I was going to give the Big Ten and/or Marriott credit.
Hey, John, I know you talk about the next man up philosophy, but you're running out of guys. Kendrick now out for a little while. What do you? I mean, how do you account for this? I mean, it's just a lot of bad luck, or just where do you go from here?
Well, in this case, it is. Obviously we examine everything that we do. We've had some strange ones. There's, certainly not very many 20-year-olds that tear Achilles. You just don't see that. In LeBron's case, he had that tear for a long time. We didn't know that. Maybe dating back potentially years.
Did he know that?
No. So, that's Kendrick's just, we'll find out on his thumb, but he's just playing defense on Aaron Jordan guarding the ball and just tries to reach in and take the ball and thinks he sprains his thumb. That's a kind of a freakish accident, Coleman Lands had his stress fracture back at La Lu. Aaron Jordan got hurt in an IBCA All-Star game. So it's some of that stuff you just, at some point you just got to have faith that it'll boomerang back. And what I've always said here, especially lately, is I probably didn't appreciate the first 6 years I was a head coach. I had 2 total players miss 23 total games in 6 years. And to be honest with you, I probably didn't appreciate that enough. Because this, last year and this year's a little bit different with that. But we trust that it's happening for a reason. It's not going to change our, mindset at all. I think the guys are attacking their rehabs very aggressively. We're going to get some of these guys back here sooner than later. We get Tate back tomorrow. Coleman Lands is on his way back. Black's now on his way back. So, we'll get those guys back and we'll do the right thing for them, obviously, and then we'll figure it out in the meantime. And like I said in there, I think the biggest challenge is trying to make sure that we grow and improve and get better while your team's constantly changing. Fortunately or unfortunately, I got a lot of practice at that last year. So I think that that's certainly been on the forefront of my mind, how to simplify things, how to make that transition smoother as guys are coming in and out of that lineup.
Is there a heightened scrutiny because of athletic department struggles with
not
injuries?
Really. Yeah, not really, Rob. That is, at this point, that is totally, those are mutually exclusive things, and, our guys know that. I mean, they just, right now, it's, for us, it's just kind of, I hate to say bad luck, but I don't know if I necessarily believe it. I think more of it's happening for a reason. We're going to have to deal with this adversity for a reason. Hopefully, at the end of the day, it makes us stronger, makes us a better team. Right now, Jordan and Williams are getting a ton of reps. That's a good thing for them. I mean, that's going to help them come along and get better faster. So for us, it's more of how do we handle the situation and manage it the best we can, and find a way to make sure that we're improving and getting better.
If Kendrick's prognosis is bad, would you contemplate moving Aaron to the 2 from the 3?
Yeah, possibly. It depends. I don't anticipate it being bad. I don't think that way. I'm hoping it's not. We'll know more today. But that's a possibility. Right now, obviously, Coleman Lands will be back here pretty soon, and he's going to play and learn the 2 spot. But that's certainly a possibility.
Do you think that's a case scenario for Kendrick's return?
Don't know yet. Today he's being evaluated.
Kendrick and 2 other players are from the same high school in Chicago.
Yeah.
What's that pipeline kind of been like?
I'm sorry, the last part?
The pipeline. What's
Yeah, no, it's been great. I have great respect for the coach at Simeon, and I really respect the program there and how they've been able to sustain excellence for a long period of time. Obviously Jalen and DJ and Kendrick have all been a part of that, and you always love to coach guys from winning programs. And I think those 3 guys exemplify a lot of the habits that I want in our players, both on and off the court. I think some of that's attributed certainly to their background. Their families did a good job with them, and then some of it is their experience there and other people, I'm sure, that have touched their lives. But being a part of that program, there is a standard and an expectation, and I like that.
With all these injuries and everything, does it change any expectations at all? Because obviously you want to get back to the NCAA, you want to be in the upper half of the Big Ten, but with all these, you can only do so much. But does it change anything because of everything that's happened?
Yeah, I think for me, as I've gotten older, my only expectation is that we keep getting better, we grow and improve every day, and that we reach our potential as a team, and that we perform at or above our potential level. In terms of, a guy tears a meniscus or a guy, I can't control that. As much as believe me, if I could find a way to control those things, I would control those things. But at this juncture, you're going to play the cards that you're dealt, and I think it opens up opportunities for other guys. Like I said, Jordan and Williams are getting more reps right now. They're getting more experience right now, and that's a good thing for us as we build our program. I just really believe it'll boomerang back. A lot of those things are cyclical, and it'll boomerang back in our favor. I really believe that. I have faith that that'll happen.
Crazy off-topic question for you, Coach. Getting in this Cubs run at all, does that inspire your guys?
I have. It's interesting because I told a group I was speaking at last week, that I'm rooting for the Cubs. And it's not necessarily that I'm a diehard Cubs fan. I'm a Reds fan. And the Reds rival as well as the Cardinals. And, so for me, that's part of it. And then the other part of it, obviously, in-state, it's great for the city. It's great for the state. And I really have admired the way that Theo Epstein has built, their team, how they run their organization. I study those things a lot. So, I'm happy for them. I'm happy for the state. I'm happy for the city of Chicago.
When you were talking about last season and trying to just kind of when guys were coming in and out of the lineups and figuring that, what did you learn from that? You used the word smooth, trying to make that smooth. What did you learn?
I don't know. I think smooth is probably.
Well, that was the goal.
It's kind of like almost. I tell those guys always aspire to be perfect, and you'll find excellence. So I don't know if it'll ever be smooth because as soon as you change one player in a rotation or lineup, your team changes. Obviously, if it's multiple players, there's more dynamics there. There's more changes there that you have to account for. I think the thing it taught me more than anything, one is you can't control it. Don't ask me earlier, you seem pretty happy for a guy I'm not going to allow that to steal my mind or steal our players' minds or temper my expectations for them to improve and get better. We're not going to do that. We talked a lot about the next man up deal, but I do think it's challenging. It's hard, but we'll figure it out. I think maybe the biggest thing I learned is to be patient. Understand you got to let some of that go because you can't control it. There's nothing you can do. Worry more and spend more of your time focusing and concentrating on the guys that can perform, play, and putting them in the best position to be successful, maybe rather than on a guy who's not out there at that current time. For me, I thought that was that sounds obvious, but it's harder to do that mentally when you're going through it. So I think that part, certainly last year, like I said, unfortunately or fortunately, has prepared me a little bit better, for those situations.
Do you think last year, with some of the injuries and other issues that went on, do you think as a coach, having to learn to play with different types of matchups kind of on the spot, do you think that helps when approaching it this year? I know it's different players, but
yeah, sure, it helps. It's kind of Shannon's question. Yeah, for sure it helps. I expect to be a better coach each year because I challenge those guys to be lifelong learners, and I want the staff and support staff to be the same. There's no reason why shouldn't be getting better. And I think through experience, that's probably the best teacher. And for me, I went through that experience, as I just talked about there with Shannon, and I think it's helpful, certainly in these situations.
Do you feel there's some pressure, the NCAA tournament, to get there this year? How do you kind of?
No, I think those guys want to play in it badly, which is a good thing. But for us right now, I think the whole thing I've told them even before some of these injuries was we want to get caught up in, our deal this year has been we want to love each other, serve each other, care about holding each other accountable, and then we want to accept each other, understand who we are as players, as people, help each other become the best team when we fit it all together that we can be. And that's really been our focus. Obviously, with the lineup and roster changing in practice a little bit more frequently than what we wanted, is that more challenging? Yeah, but it also opens up opportunities for other guys. Doors open for some of those guys, whether it's to get more reps or opportunity to play, maybe as Rob was saying, 2 positions instead of 1. Like, it opens up opportunities, and that's what those guys came to Illinois for, was for opportunities. So, for them, they got to sprint through that door, run through that open door, and we've got to figure it out.
You saw Michigan play. Well, you played Michigan 3 times last season, a couple overtime games. What are your opinions on Michigan's team going forward?
Well, obviously they're really talented. I agree with what Coach Green said earlier, about our league, top to bottom. I don't know if there's any better. I don't know if it's been better since I've been here. And during this 3 to 4 years, it's been pretty strong, top to bottom. I think Michigan's certainly one of those teams. They're very well coached. They've got great talent. Obviously, they had some injuries last year as well. They got some of those guys back healthy now, and added some other players. And they're going to be a team that, like a lot of these teams, that can beat anybody on any given night. I think there's a lot of teams like that in our league. I think it's that competitive.
And then as a follow-up, Spike, I don't know if you remember this, Spike got pretty emotional in one of the overtime games, kind of like threw his hands up, almost looked like he was crying. What do you think when you see that kind of emotion? I'm not sure if you saw that.
Well, I didn't necessarily see it, but I have great respect for him, not only for his ability and his skill level, but for his competitiveness. I think he's really tough. As an outsider looking in, you'd have to ask Coach Beeline. I don't coach him every day, but as I watch him, I think he's a very, very tough kid mentally and physically, and that's a great quality to have, especially in our league.
Thanks.
Excuse me, Coach, pardon me for just walking up. I don't know if you talked about this yet, but talk about the recruiting that you do out of Chicago, the quality of athlete you're getting from the Chicagoland area. You guys have a lot of players directly from this city, so can you just touch on that for me for a minute?
Well, I think for us, the biggest thing is regardless where they're from, we're trying to find Illini guys. I've learned that more and more each year I've had the job, to stay true to how we define that and to recruit those guys. And obviously there's a lot of them when you have a city the size of Chicago, and the quality of basketball, the quality of the coaching, the talent, and it's 2.5 hours away. You're going to recruit that area hard, and we've done that. And as you mentioned, we have a lot of guys on our roster that are from Chicago or the surrounding area. And a lot of those guys take pride in playing at Illinois, for their state school, being from the city, playing at Illinois. I know that's important to Kendrick. Malcolm's here today, not from Chicago, from Belleville, or he'll tell you Fairview Heights. And it means something to him, So, we're fortunate and blessed right now with the character that's in our locker room. I think it's a great thing for us here heading into our 4th year. It's as strong as it's been top to bottom. Our guys are a little older. Some of those guys that had to play as young guys, like Malcolm, Kendrick, Maverick, Jalen, those guys now they've played in every game basically for 2 years. So I think that's a big plus. Our maturity with that class, I think, has been very helpful from a leadership perspective as well.
Go ahead.
You said, you're recruiting Illini guys. A few of them are from Simeon. So what makes these Simeon kids Illini guys, do you think?
Well, I think the biggest thing, obviously, they have a competitive toughness about them. All 3 of them have motor, meaning they want to be really, really good. They work. They're used to working. Winning's important to them. Competing, whether it's a drill, a practice, or a game, is important to them. Knowing how to play with and against really, really good players because of who they play with every day in practice, because of who they play against. I think they get that maybe a little bit more maybe than most. So they're at an advantage there a little bit with that, and that's obviously that's been a good thing for us. Those three guys are important to us. They're all three getting better, and all three of them I think have a chance to have really good careers when it's all said and done.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
You're putting a lot on Kendrick and Malcolm in terms of leadership as well as production, and you have older guys in Big Mike and Khalid who have been through that. Do you feel like as they're getting adjusted to your team, can they become leaders on your team?
We'll see, Derek. I think Khalid has some of those natural instincts. I think Mike's experience certainly helps our front court players. But at the end of the day, like the four guys in the junior class have been here now 2+ years. They've basically played in every game for the most part. Tate and Morgan maybe not a couple. My standards for them are a lot different than the newcomers. They should know what we want, how we practice, what I want both on and off the court for those guys. And I want them to set a bar and a standard that's really, really high. So Hill's really, lately, the last 2 to 3 weeks, it's really clicked for him. He's playing like his pants are on fire right now, which is what I want. And he's talking, he's communicating, he's vocal, he's taking more ownership for his teammates. I'm really excited about the growth I've seen in him.
Who are you referring to there?
Hill.
Coach, Mike Gilman with the Daily Herald.
Sure.
It's your 4th year, kind of a critical year for a coach. You had a series of recruiting classes and whatever. How critical is it for you to get to the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I'm not going down that road or focused on that. I'm focused right now on getting our team to play and perform at its highest level. The team that I have currently, which is on the floor about 9 guys, maybe 10. That's what I can control right now. We'll get some of these other guys back here in the next few weeks, hopefully, and that'll help. That'll help our depth. But at the end of the day, I can't control that. I learned that last year. If you'd have said to me, on paper last year, heading into the 3rd year, had we not had all the issues or even a normal amount of injuries, could that team have been the best team that we had in 3 years? Oh, no question. But that didn't happen. So, for me to, reflect on that too much or try to control the fact that, Ray Rice breaks his hand, or I've learned that you can't do that.
Tracy Abrams.
Yeah, Tracy Abrams. It just is what it is. So for me right now, the focus is on whoever's out there every day, getting them to play the brand of basketball that we want. And I want to play fast and aggressive on offense. I want to share the ball. I want to be committed to defending the ball as a team. And we're not quite there yet, but the European trip helped. And I think we're a little bit further along because we're a little bit older. And I do think once we get some guys back and healthy, then I think we've got a chance to have a special year. But again, some of those things I can't control. I'm only going to worry about what I can control.
Coach, in your press conference, you had talked about the next man up mentality with the players that you have at your disposal right now. How have they responded to that?
Great. We had a great practice yesterday. We were really good yesterday before I drove up here. So we were good. A lot of those guys have been now 2 years. I think last year's experience certainly helps those guys do what they need to do and be the next man up. I think that part's been good. The other thing for them, I think, is as you get away from last year more and you get less emotionally attached to it, become blatantly obvious to me as I watched film and thought about our team. It was literally amazing with everything those kids went through, that they were 20 minutes away in West Lafayette from potentially making the NCAA tournament. See, right now everybody wants to focus on the last game or two. We didn't play great. We didn't. But there's a lot of teams that when you talk about the team that we had in our locker room in the spring of 14 and finished with in the spring of 15, who was left? There's a lot of teams that would not have been in that situation. And I'm meaning that in a positive way. A lot of that, I think, goes, with how tough our players are. But a lot of that was on the shoulders of Nana Egwu's leadership. and I appreciate him more every day, and I appreciate looking back now how we fought through all those things to put ourselves in position. You know, that a lot of teams wouldn't have been able to do that.
As an Illinois adult, in addition to the sports writer, it just looks like there's all kinds of turbulence down there. The athletic department, the university. Is that going to impact the basketball program at all? And does it impact recruiting?
We try not to let it, obviously, because for us, again, it goes back to Mike. I don't mean to belabor it, but I can't control that. I can control what's happening with us on a daily basis, and that's what we're going to control. I can't control what people say, how they feel, or what their opinions are, or things that are happening outside of, you know, our basketball program. Like I don't have necessarily like in-depth knowledge of those things. I stay locked in on what we're supposed to be doing, and we take a lot of pride in what we're doing and how we're doing it. You know, Tracy said that to me a couple weeks ago. Those guys have a real good feel in that locker room right now, what we're about, how we do things. You know, we just need a couple of these injuries to boomerang back our way, and you know, and I'm confident that they will. I have faith that we'll get a couple of these guys returning here soon and keep trucking along.
When you go into anything opposed recruiting, does it ever come up? Are they aware at all?
Sometimes people will ask, but not very often. Not very often.
Coach, CJ Williams may have as much long-term potential as anybody on your roster. Talent has never been a question. Consistency has for him sometimes. What do you see out of him, and what's the key to making him a consistent player?
Well, the first thing is he cares. He wants to be really good. We're going to keep pushing him. I think, Derek, I think that's the word right now. We need him to be more consistent defensively, more consistent taking care of the ball, just more consistent in general. But that's normal for freshmen. You know, freshmen have to fit in first before they stand out. I've always believed that. So for him and Aaron right now, they're trying to find their way a little bit. No different than Ken and Malcolm were trying to find their way as freshmen. But you're right, he's really, really talented. At 6'7", he can do some things that a lot of guys his size can't do. He has like almost like a point guard skill set for his size, which is rare. But now we've got to get him to play hard all the time, have a sense of urgency all the time, and play with that level of, I mentioned Hill's playing with his pants on fire right now. We need Williams to do that, to take that next step.
John, Malcolm's maturation has been kind of fun to watch. For him, he said in the Maryland game last year.
Good for him.
Yeah. Did you see that, or when did you see that?
He's always had talent, Jeremy. I think he showed flashes of that throughout his freshman year, his sophomore year, because he had more opportunity and more minutes. I think there was even more opportunity to show flashes of that talent. Obviously, in that game, he was terrific. But I could pick a handful of others where he didn't play up to my standard for him. And that's too many. For me, when it clicked for him, was I thought the USA basketball experience helped him. I thought he came back from that. I thought he had a heck of a summer in preparation for that. That was important to him. He came back from it being coached by other coaches, which I thought would be great, so you could hear different voices. Thought that was good. He obviously played against really good players at that event. And he came back, and he just has not stopped. His effort level in practice has been off the charts. It's as consistent as I've seen him play in terms of effort, day after day after day after day. He's also a lot more vocal right now, and doesn't take just ownership of his own game or how things are going for him. He also takes ownership of others, and I think that's a tremendous thing when it comes to growth, that he's understanding and he's getting it, and he's really helping out our young guys and our newcomers, and he's willing to be more vocal. And part of it is he knows what to say. I mean, 2 years in now, he knows what we expect, what to say, he knows the terminology. But I would agree with you. I think his growth has been amazing. I'm really proud of him.
Everybody's wired different. How is he wired?
One of his strengths, I think, is that he doesn't get too rattled very often. He's very chill, laid back. But I thought the first 2 years there were times where I needed him to not be laid back, to be more aggressive, to attack, to turn the switch on. And I think right now his habits are so good that switch is on every day right now. I mean, the little things that people, he carries water with him, gallon jugs, to make sure he's hydrated. He eats properly for the most part. He values sleep. He values getting to practice really early. He has routines. Like, he's starting to learn how to be what I call a pro's pro. And I think with that, he's seen his performance continue to incline. And I think he's understanding now that you've learned some of that. I need you to teach that to the other guys and bring them with you. And he's doing more of that now.
Steve Bardo said he was going to be a pro. I was talking with Howard Moore and Steve in the hallway before all this started, and he was like, Malcolm is a pro. He's going to be a pro.
He's got a chance, especially here with the way the effort level, all the little things. Little things make a big difference, and I've been trying to get him to buy into that. And it's not that he's not coachable or teachable. He's a very respectful young man. He's a great kid. I love coaching him. I love him. But I think sometimes it takes guys a longer period of time to value the little things and how that affects performance. He's always had the talent, the size, the skill set. We've all seen that. But I think what's now given him a chance to be a special player is the fact that he values the little things more.
You played him at the 1 in Europe.
He can play wherever you want to play him.
Is he going to play at the 1?
Oh, he can play 1, 2, 3, 4. He can guard 5s if I need him to. He's a good player. He's very, very versatile. When his mind's right and his heart's in the right place, I think he's one of the best players in our league and in the country.
Can he be as good as Ray Rice at point guard?
We'll see. I just love his versatility. We'll see.
John, I was going to talk to some of the other coaches who've gone through renovations and new stadiums, things like that. How much is the optics of all that matter for college basketball program building?
Well, I think it's great for us in the long term. Obviously, that pertains to us. It's awesome. I was over there this past week. Saw some of the orange seats getting put in with all the blue in there. I mean, it's going to be spectacular. So from that standpoint, I think it's great. Obviously, if you said, hey, John, would you prefer to play your first 9 games away from home, or would you like to sprinkle in some home games in there? I'm not going to lie to you, I'd like to sprinkle in some home games in there, but that's not an option. So, again, a lot like the questions that have been asked about, an injury or whatever, like I can't control that. I do know this. I do think it's well worth it. Just the overturn. We came to build a pro. It's not about these 9 games. It's about Illinois, what's best for the university, what's best for the basketball program as we continue to build it and move it forward. And there's no question that the renovation helps us in that regard.
So kids, that's
sure. Absolutely.
We've got a bunch of things going on this weekend.
Clinic, yeah.
Is there any time there where a media person like myself can come over and watch the teams?
I don't think we've done that in the past. We've had guys come over and interview. Seth Greenberg will be doing the clinic. Kurt Sendek will be doing the clinic. So we provide a pocket of time where guys can do that to interview those guys and myself. But we've those things, unless you paid for the clinic. As a coach, we've not offered that opportunity. We've kept it closed like the others.
Coach, is there a player that you just to finish up? Is there something like an orange blue?
Yeah, there's an what's it called?
All in.
Illini All In. What's the date, Tup?
24th or 25th.
It's a Sunday, right? Same thing we did last year.
Yeah. That will be our only
yes.
opportunity before the exhibition.
Before the exhibition game. Yep.
Coach, is there a player you've coached in the past that you could compare to Malcolm Hill, maybe both in terms of game and personality?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Alex, I would say maybe not quite as athletic, but Malcolm's got some skill set things at this age that are probably a little bit more advanced than David. But probably Lighty, you know, because Lighty, when we were at Ohio State, played about anywhere you wanted to play him. Great kid, great student, good person, heck of a leader. Some of those little things, those intangible things he had earlier than Malcolm had. Malcolm now has some of those things. But in terms of his versatility and height, maybe that would be the comparison. 6'6", both guys 6'6". Both guys can play multiple positions.
Glad he wasn't 17 when he started.
Personality-wise, though, yeah. And that's part of it. Rob's right. I mean, Malcolm and Haas were the only two teenagers at the USA basketball tryout this year. So Malcolm's always been very young for his grade, you know, or for his year in school. So that's a good point Rob made, because sometimes guys mature at a little different speed when it comes to appreciation of the little things. You know, but I would say those guys a little bit would probably be the comparison. And I'm saying that more out of versatility and height.
You bring up Lighty. Do you see an Evan Turner comparison at all there? He handled the ball a lot more probably. But.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. And demeanor, personality, similar. You talked about game and personality.
Right. They don't have to be
his personality, Dave was probably a little bit more not as laid back as Malcolm, where Evan was or is. But either of those guys, like, if you told me he was going to play like either one of those two guys this year, I'd take it.
Johnny, you lined up your ones yesterday. Who was in Ken's spot?
What's that?
Who, if you had a game tonight, who would you put in?
The guys that are learning the two right now are Coleman Lands, who's not back yet.
Right.
Alex Austin. We could play Aaron Jordan there. Trying to think who else. We could go 2 point guards, play Lewis and Tate there. So we got a little bit of versatility.
Alex would be the service along defensively.
For sure.
Of your options.
Yeah. No, if we played today based on, you know, where we're at with some injuries, Alex would clearly be in the rotation.
What does he provide for leadership purposes, Alex?
I'd like for him to be more vocal. I think most of what he does is by example. He's a very good defender. He's a great teammate. He's really gotten better. He's gotten stronger. He knows the system. He makes shots. He takes care of the ball. He defends. He's really improved a lot. And he's 6'4" to 6'5" as a guard. So that height helps him.
I'm wondering, you've obviously been in the conference as a head coach and an assistant for a long time now. When you're in sort of the middle of the conference, what is the challenge like trying to get into that upper third, into that upper couple of guys? Because it seems like with the depth in this league, that's a tough thing to break into that upper part. What does it take to get from 8, 9 to 2, 3, 4?
It's a great question. Health helps. I don't know. I don't know if there's a magic formula to that. I think the games are, in our league, the depth is amazing, and a lot of the games come down to the last 4 or 5 minutes where it's like 3 possessions or less. So a lot of it comes down to execution late, players making plays late. I just think the margin for error is so small. You know, I don't think it's very large. I think maybe the best, and I think the league's deeper this year than it was my first year. But for example, a team in our league went to the national championship game my first year, and they didn't get a bye in the Big Ten tournament. They were 5th.
Right.
And at that time, we were a 12-team league, so they weren't in the upper third.
Right.
That tells you how hard it is to get in the upper third.
Fat has talked about how specifically road games in this conference are harder than any other conference, and he's talked about that's what Coach Major would say. And he obviously has experience in other leagues as well.
Yeah.
How much have you found that to play?
I think the percentages show that. So that's probably not even just a subjective opinion. There's some objectivity to that statement.
You know, and I think a lot of it's because the venues. You know, it's 39 straight years our league. If you're a Big Ten student athlete, you play in front of more fans than any other league in the country.
Right.
So you're going into sold-out arenas most of the time.
Right.
Intimidating environments most of the time.
We text.
Very good coaches, top to bottom, and really good players. And there's no question the home court advantage is huge in our league. Statistics show that.
I wonder, different topic, but when you're out bringing kids in, you're recruiting kids, and you're hosting visits and things like that, how do you handle those situations? Do you oversee the whole itinerary?
Oh, sure.
You know, like,
yeah, we're all on the same page. We meet on it. I know everything they're doing on the visit in terms of the itinerary, where they're supposed to be. Obviously, you're entrusting your players once they go out with the host or your team in the evening. But in terms of the itinerary, it's planned out, whether it's academics or touring facilities or whatever that might be. And obviously, the person that has the most say-so in that is the guy who's the recruiting point person, because they know the kid and what they need to see.
Right.
And then Jamal Walker's our recruiting coordinator, so he works to put that together. And then they go over it with me leading into every visit.
Do you ever worry about, I mean, like the scandal at Louisville right now, or just previous stories, Tennessee with dancing girls and escorts? Do you ever like lose sleep about that sort of thing?
Rob, I'm in a business where I coach 18 to 22-year-olds. So whether it's an official visit or not an official visit, my wife will tell you my phone's right beside my bed, and if you're in it long enough, you see about everything.
Yeah.
So you would hope, obviously, that they've learned prior and are equipped prior to coming to make good choices, and then that our culture and environment continues to be an extension of that and promotes good choices as well. And then at that point, I always tell them the greatest gift God gave us is the gift to choose wisely.
I think there's a perception that coaches can be with these guys 24/7 when they're not in the court. They're in a locker room with you or somewhere. Is it
true?
Right. How hard is it as a coach how much can you reasonably be expected to keep tabs on 12, 13, 14 kids all year long? How tough is it to strike that balance and to do that as a coach?
Well, I think those are almost two different questions. The 24/7 thing, I said that's not true. I mean, I'm not with them 24/7.
Right.
I'm with them in season. Probably I'm around them 3 to 4 hours a day by the time they get to the facility and leave the facility after practice out of 24.
Right.
Outside the season, there's more limitations on how much we can spend time with them on court. And it's probably a little less than that, and it's frequently, but not as frequent as the 6-month season.
Right.
So I think 24 hours is a stretch. The only thing you can do is continue to educate guys on what good choices look like. I'll use examples of, professional athletes or collegiate athletes that maybe made a bad choice. No one's perfect, I understand that. People make mistakes. We use those as teaching tools. But a lot of it comes down to trust. A lot of it does.
How much harder or maybe easier is it in the age where every single person, including all of us, is holding a recording instrument that's in their pocket?
I think it makes it harder for sure. I think that's really changed over the last 4 to 5 years. I think those, Delaney, he's right. Those private spaces are shrinking. It's different.
Coach, the Big Ten Conference is one that has a good amount of quality traditional centers. How much tougher is it to go against a team that has one big guy who's in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I don't know if I've been in a league heading into a season. It's a great question. That is a really good question.
Ben, is it?
Yeah, that's a
all
great
right.
question.
Good question, Ben.
I don't know if I've went into a league, and again, this is on paper. It's paper. We know it's all got to play out. Where there's as much size going into the season on teams, because I think what makes that really unique, Ben, is if you think about it, the game, especially at the NBA level and even collegiately, has started to shift to smaller. Small ball, 4 guard. So I think it's very unique that our league has this. I don't know. You'd have to do the research. I could be wrong, but there's a lot of teams in our league that have bona fide power forwards and centers. And there for a while, those positions, or the number of guys that we have in our league that play those positions, and in other leagues, I think a lot of people thought that the bell curve was going the other way.
So that's sort of becoming a lost art.
Yeah, I think it's unique. We've certainly taken into consideration in our preparation for the season the size we're going to see, and probably more so than the first 3 years for sure.
Looking as an example, your in-state rival Northwestern is a guy in Alex Willa who you played against many
Yeah,
times.
he's a good player.
How has he developed, and how does he sort of reflect that trend in the Big Ten?
Yeah, I think he's really good. The thing I admire the most about him was where he started, where he is now. You can tell he's really worked. Body's changed, conditioning's changed, game's changed. I think he's really improved. He's really good offensively. Guy his size, you can do a lot of different things with him, and I think he has great feel for the game and good IQ. I really like him as a player.
How about your own two centers? What's it like between Maverick and Mike in practice every day right now?
Like two sumo wrestlers.
In a good way, of course.
Some days. I'm on those guys, both guys. Mike's worked really hard to get himself in shape. Mav's working really hard as well with that. The great thing for us, and once we get everybody healthy, Rob, is we could play. When someone asked me earlier to give the one word that comes to mind when you think about our team on the court, it's versatility. And we just talked earlier about, hey, could Malcolm play any one at 6'6"? Could we go small and play Finke, Blackthorn, or Morgan at 5 if we wanted to? Sure. Could we go big and go Finke, Morgan, Finke, Thorn, Blackthorn? Sure. So we've got a lot of options, a lot of versatility once we get everybody healthy, and we put our team together that way. And I'm excited about that. It's maybe as versatile a team as I've coached as a head coach.
Would we expect to see Laurent at the 5? Once he's
we could, depending on matchups or how that group plays together. I mean, I certainly wouldn't rule it out. All of our guys on the team that are second-year or older players know at least 2 positions. Now, the freshmen, I usually err on the side of teaching 1. Every once in a while, I'll give a guy 2, and if I give him 2, it's usually the 2 and the 3, or the 3 and the 2, because those are so similar in the way we play that's not as taxing to learn.
Go back to the decision to redshirt Michael, what that's like to redshirt a guy, ask him to do it.
It's interesting with Michael, there was talk of it, as you know, Jeremy, well before I did it. And I thought it was kind of unfair because I wanted to give him a chance to get through the exhibition and scrimmage, get several practices under his belt. We obviously last year didn't have a European trip or games. And I wanted to really evaluate, and he got better so fast that it ended up becoming, for me, a decision that wasn't cut and dry. It was hard. But I kept looking at it through his eyes and the building of our program, and not a 1-year immediacy, saying what's best for him? What's best for Illinois long term? And I said to myself, hey, if I can't commit today to knowing that I'm going to play him 15 minutes a night every game, and I see where he's going right now. And as soon as he adds strength to his frame, he's going to be really good. Then I didn't want to, for lack of a better word, waste the year. Some guys get chances to replace their 18-year-old year when they do that with a 23-year-old year after 3 or 4 years of experience. And so I thought that was best for him and for us and for Illinois. But it took me some time to come to that. I wanted to make sure that I really evaluated what was best for our team, what was best for Michael. And now, it's really paid off. I think he would tell you, and obviously you'll get a chance to interview him, but
he says it was the best thing, even though then he probably didn't think so.
He's so much stronger. He knows so much more. And to think that his clock hasn't even started yet, until November 13th is amazing. It gets me excited. I love coaching him. He's as good a player as he is. He's an even better person.
Obviously, he's got to play a bigger role for you even this year than you probably thought originally. What does he add to you?
He adds an offensive skill set at 6'9 plus like a guard, which is very unique. Defensively, he's starting to figure things out. He's still working to get better there. I do think the strength has helped him at both ends. But he has the skill set of a guard at 6'9 plus. And he's a great passer, has good feel for the game, good instincts. So I'm excited. He's an important part of not only this year, but our future.
Last week he said that he was a better point guard than either Malcolm or DJ.
Is that right?
And that he's been working outside of practice at the one.
At the one?
So I guess the getting back to the Maverick and Mike question, is Michael going to be more of a stretch forward than as last year he was like considered a center?
Michael's going to play both positions.
Okay.
Yeah. Michael's learning 4 and 5. Ron 4 and 5. You got guys that are very, very versatile. The newcomers and the freshmen are the guys that are learning one position.
I want to ask the same question about the center position as point guard, how Jalen and Khalid are going against one another in practice, and what differences, what you see out of that competition.
Well, I think the addition of Khalid has really helped our team, and it's helped Jalen. Because of course, Jalen's been out a couple weeks here, and we'll get him back tomorrow. But when those two were going at it, like, it was very competitive. I think they enjoy challenging each other. Tracy's really helped as well because he's helped those guys. He's talking to them constantly. He's really helped Khalid in particular. I've asked him to do that because Khalid didn't have the benefit of 10 European practices and 4 games. He just got thrown in fall semester to a team that was already starting to mold. So Tracy's done a great job of that, helping them, as have the other guys. But we're going to need both of them. Tate's really improved. Khalid brings an element of toughness and really guards the ball well. He's physically strong. He's 6'3". He's got good size. He's finishes well around the rim. So we feel very blessed and fortunate to get him as quickly as we did. We're excited that he's on our team.
Personality-wise, they're Maverick and Mike. They're friends. They're roommates. They're both kind of laid-back guys in a way. Jalen and Khalid get along very well. They're both sort of light-hearted guys. Is it at all a challenge to get them to be fierce competitors against one another in practice?
Every day that's a challenge, I think, for any coach, is to get guys to compete and bring it every day. But they've got a good example of that now with Hill, the way Hill's playing right now. And not just his production or effectiveness, but the way he approaches every day right now. If I was his teammate, I'd certainly respect that at a high level. And so hopefully those guys, he's setting a bar for those guys, and we expect them to reach that bar.
Obviously not easy to be a freshman in the Big Ten. It's really not easy when you miss all preseason. What's your kind of expectation for him? How are you guys going to
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Brian. I think the hardest thing for him is he missed all of summer, he's missed all of fall, but the kid is, as you know, I mean, he's obviously an elite level shooter. He's a really good on-ball defender. He is he has amazing leadership qualities for someone his age. Maybe as advanced as anyone I've ever seen. People over at the business school, they love him. I mean, he has a way of touching people and impacting people and communicating. And so I think those 3 things, those won't be stymied by the fact he's been out. I think what will be is timing, getting used to what we're running offensively. It's one thing to walk through it 5-on-0 with Dustin and Paris and Jamal and walk through the play. It's another thing to actually run it live. I think it's one thing to be able to guard the ball one-on-one, but it's another thing when you put 9 other players out there with you, and you've got to understand the defensive system and when to rotate. And you see it on paper, you see it on clips, but now you actually have to do it. So I'm going to be patient with him, but my hope is, and my gut tells me, that he's a guy that's going to pick things up pretty quickly.
How'd you rate Finke's sit out here?
Phenomenal. We just talked about him. He's gotten stronger, become an even better shooter. He's added 20-some pounds. He has the skill set of a guard, two guard at 6'9" plus. I mean, and it was hard last year. You know, I made the decision to redshirt him late. I waited because I wanted to give it a sincere evaluation of what was best for our team and for him. And then finally, I decided what was best for Illinois and our program moving forward, and what was best for him was for him to redshirt. That if we added strength to him, that he would become a significantly better player. And he worked very hard. He's really improved. You know, he's gotten a lot better. I'm excited about him. It's not very often you see a guy 6'9.5" that can play 4 and 5, that shoots threes, dribbles, passes. Like, you know, he has an elite level skill set. Right now, it's more about getting him a little bit more consistent at the other end.
Do you anticipate playing all of your freshmen, or are you still going to wait?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question to ask now when I got 5 guys in the mash unit. Yeah, right now, as of right now. I don't ever make that decision just like I did with Finke, really until right after the last exhibition game or scrimmage. I see it all the way through. And that's what we did with Michael last year. I do that every year with all those guys. It doesn't matter what class, what year. But right now, our plan is to play everybody.
What's Malcolm added each year, and what's he adding this year?
Just the little things. He and I would, because he's so laid back sometimes, he and I would butt heads a little bit, not in a bad way, but just trying to get him to value hydration, sleep, practice routine, valuing practice, drills, skill, weightlifting, all the little things that could take him from being a really, really good player, which we all know he is, to a great player. And he's finally, it's clicked. And the last, I think, he said earlier it was the Maryland game last year. He had that in him for 2 years. What I think clicked for him was going to USA Basketball. Preparing for that this summer, going, playing against those really good players, hearing different voices coach him that are good coaches, getting cut, coming back with another chip on his shoulder. He's in phenomenal physical condition right now. He's lost weight, he moves better, he plays 4 different positions in practice. I mean, he's a really good player. And if he continues to play with the same mindset, that's what I keep telling him, with the same heart he has the last 2 months, I think he could possibly be one of the best players in our league in the country. But he has to bring that every day. He's sustained that for the last 2 months, and that's what excites me.
So you just see him kind of dedicating himself a little more to the small things.
Yeah, he just values all the little things. Yeah, he just values them all. His effort level right now is a standard in practice. I've seen him play hard at times throughout the 2 years, and then I've seen him not. Right now, he's at another level with that. And I can honestly look to his teammates right now and say, play as hard as him, like I used to with Edward.
I really came over to see a baby picture.
What's that?
I really came over just to see a baby
You
picture.
want to see one?
Yeah.
I didn't have a couple.
I feel connected to her since I was
sure.
there for the, you don't need to record that, Rob. off conversation.
Let's see what I have here. Life centers.
Yeah.
Right here. That's one of my favorites of it right there.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So cute.
Yeah, she's doing awesome.
How old is she?
How old is she now, Jen? 7 months.
7 months.
Yeah. 7 months and change.
Yeah, she's adorable. So the boys have taken to her well.
Awesome. Especially the 9-year-old. Cam too, but Cam's a little bit physical with her sometimes. You gotta watch. You gotta watch Cam. Yeah, but he'll figure it out. He just loves her so much he can't help himself. He wants to put his hands on her. It's like,
gentle
Cam,
hugging.
easy, buddy.
Yeah.
That's her head.
She's adorable.
So But yeah, they do great with her. I'll tell her you asked.
Yeah.
Your family good?
Yeah. Thank
Good.
you.
Good. All right, Shannon.
Yeah.
So what are you doing back there? I mean, I've heard some folks that you might use him in or
I played them all over.
yeah, that's right.
Right now, we played today, it would be Lewis and Tate. Because Tate's really improved, and Lewis has been better than what I thought.
Okay.
So I feel good about that.
Right.
But at any time I want to put the ball in his hands, or
right.
He knows the position,
yeah.
Which is the benefit of, he learned it all summer while we, when Tracy tore it,
right.
We go to Europe, Lewis can't start till fall semester because of how quickly the recruitment went.
Right.
So Tate was the only point guard in Europe. So I threw Williams and Hill.
Okay.
And so we got a lot of versatility with that, and that's good. And then they're so different because you got 2 point guards at 6'3", which is pretty good size.
Right.
But then you got him at 6'6".
Right.
DJ could probably do it at 6'7".
Right.
So it's like 2 different. That's the thing, Mike. I think once we get these guys healthy, I think it's versatility is the thing that stands out for me.
Right. Right.
We can play black and five,
right.
We play black and Finky and Morgan, Finky and Thorne, black and Thorne.
Right.
You can go big ball to small ball. I can play big point guard, little point guard.
Right.
It's just a matter of.
The funniest damn thing is, I was gonna make a joke with you about like whether you bubble wrap yourself or something, and then you made the joke, and then you throw on top of it. Oh, by the way, you think we had a bad before Kendrick's hurt too. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
And you know what's crazy? Like if it was. Stress fractures or stuff like that, I really have to. I want to learn.
Right.
But we've had Tracy with an Achilles. He tears their Achilles at 22 years old. Right. They've never had a student. But this doctor has been a 19 sports. They're like, he's looking to be a guy like you that you'll run.
Right.
Running, you're in your 40s. Jordan is out a little bit of summer and we see that restaurant. Yeah, system. This kid he said, John was a system for the size of it. He goes, I can't play a system. Wow. They said she could have put them out in high school. Could have been. Gardner and Jordan's triple threat. He put his hand in and poked the ball away and jammed it. But this shows you how crazy his endurance was. Those injuries didn't stop them from playing. So I had no idea until the next time. So all of a sudden,
yeah, I think we're definitely having a lot of unknowns. Obviously, Kylie is a really good player. She's a great guy. But then the other people that are playing are unknown. I know they're talented. They know they're talented. Their team knows they're talented, but the rest of the country doesn't know how good they can be.
So those are just those aren't because hey, guys are put shins or feet because they're doing too much. Those are freakish.
All of them have said our chemistry is by far the best it's ever been. And so you got to look for that diversity can make you stronger and bring you together. You see definitely going to do that, and I believe it's a show.
Man, I hope the left gets good.
Yeah, it will. I told those guys, I said,
I think it's been a combination. One, Coach Malone, Coach Kirsten, it's going to be 4 to 6. They're highly sought after assistant coaches, and they decided to stay and be part of the 4 to 6.
Yeah, that's what they You mean only 4 weeks? This is great.
Our seniors, Kylie, they've been around the program.
That's how it was with Ben Roethlisberger.
They appreciate how we practice and what we do.
I think it could be an MCL. Maybe a month.
Those guys have been big in that, and obviously have a situation best players in that team that hurt. Met all of it this summer, gave us
We'll figure it out. I'm just You know what it made me appreciate the first 6 years I was at N13? Because we had 2 players miss a total of 23 games in 6 years. So that's the reverse of what I'm going through now.
Yeah,
That's pretty
I
light.
think it's pretty every day, and the number.